For many years that we have been imposed by the Israeli soldiers by these questions like where are you coming from, where do you go to, but at every checkpoint that we pass everyday life. And the previous generations were answering with complete humility. Every day they pass these checkpoints. Today these questions, when they are imposed over our generation, over the youth, they are met with huge challenge by our youth. Like for example, they are answering the soldiers, this is not your business, and who are you to ask me this question? Our generation have never experienced the shocks of the previous first and second intifadas in the West Bank and Gaza. They never traveled to Israel, they never saw the sea. For me, the first time I saw the sea was in Sweden in 2011. But they are living and seeing the world through the internet, that they are spending a lot of time on it. At least 6 hours every day on internet, experiencing the world outside, because they are caged in a big jail prison surrounded with walls and checkpoints and colonies. Our generation doesn't care about the process of that is taking place between the Palestinian Authority and Israel. In fact, they don't even care if Israel and Palestine made negotiations or not. They are caring about one main thing, which is their private human rights. And they see that Israel is taking this from them. And they are asking for this, they are protesting for this, no matter if a Palestinian state was made or not. In the same time, this generation doesn't see also that the Palestinian Authority or any part of the Palestinian Authority is a representative for them or anyone from the political parties. Because even though that a lot of Palestinians who went to do knife attacks, for example, they wrote on their Facebook that we don't want any of the political parties to sponsor us and say that we are members of their parties. And this has resulted also in another thing where, for example, in Haifa military jail, usually there is 4 sections in the jail for the political parties. Section Hamas, section
La
Fatah,
section Hamas, la section... par parti politique en fait.
But lately there has been a section made called the Unity section for the youth who refuse to be a part of, put in one of the jails of the Palestinians. In Palestine, there is 950,000 Palestinians between the age of 15 years old to 35 years old. Most of them got their high degrees and graduated from the universities, but over a third of them are unemployed. And I just want to give you one small example. In the village of Tartus, 3 months ago, there is 370 people nominated themselves for the job of reading the clock of water. Most of them are carrying a high level of education. Every day, hundreds of youth are fighting for example, a policeman job that is paid like 250 euros a month, which is very low. Today, you see in Palestine, you see the youth who studied mathematics, they are working in construction as workers. The youth who are studying chemistry, they are working as bread makers. And when I returned to Palestine this year, I met the youth and we started to talk about what happened, how the situation got worse, because we were pushing very good. And they told me that one of the most things that disappointed them was the previous generations, who are telling them that, you know, that your struggle is not going anywhere and you're bleeding in vain and etc. The options of our generation nowadays are nearly non-existing. For example, another thing for example, in my village, I just want to give a small example in my village. My village is located in Area C, which is exactly at the borders of 1967, in the green line that are separating between the West Bank and Israel, with a total inhabitant of 5,500 people, from total of 12,500 people, and which most of them left. One of the things that I just want to focus on is that if you can see in the green line, this is the area B, because 7% of our village is considered in area B, and 93%, which is still our land, is still considered area C. The red line is the wall that confiscated our parts of our lands, and the colonies that are structured in our land in the blue, and the gate that is marked in the yellow which is controlled by Israeli army, opening at 6 o'clock in the morning, close at 6 o'clock in the evening. People cannot build on their land that is outside the wall and not confiscated yet. We can't build on it, even though it's our land. And this forces a lot of people to move because we are getting more in numbers and there is no place for people to live beside the daily oppression that we are facing. The last period in Palestine has caused huge psychological and personal oppression inside our youth, which now we started to notice that a lot of youth started to smoke hashish, for example. Some disrespect and being enraged very easily and very quickly for not serious reasons. They are dying from the daily routine that they are living in this big open air prison surrounded with walls and colonies and daily arrests and invasions. For example, in only 1 month in last July, in 1 month 950 family fights and civil fights took place in different cities in the West Bank, which resulted to the injuring of dozens of people and the death of 15 Palestinians by Palestinians. And the bigger danger that nobody's talking about, which is what is going on the settlers' side in the West Bank. For example, in April 2016, the settlers were armed by the Israeli government with over 400,000 pieces of weapons, while they are attacking us daily in our farms, in our villages, in our homes, and nobody is protecting us. In fact, the only part that is having the weapons, which is the Palestinian Authority, they only have 20,000 pieces of guns, with limited numbers of bullets, which are not enough to defend the Muqata'a, the center of the Palestinian Authority, for 6 hours. And what is even worse is that there is something taking place inside these colonies that is called, it's academies that are called the pre-army missionot. Because usually the religious settlers, they're not allowed to join the army except in certain sections. And now, thanks to these academies that are spreading all over the West Bank, which are encouraging all the religious settlers with religious declarations by the religious man and the settlement to go in the army and serve and work in the army. And this, thanks to this, today there is over a quarter of the commanders who are leading important parts in the Israeli defense army, in the Israeli army body. They are from the settlements, which means that now the settlers are not a burden of they are not a burden on the Israeli government. They are in the front line for the Israeli government. They are a source of recruiting youth for the army. What does this mean? For example, in case of any final solutions, because the colony represents a very vital point in the conflict between the Israel-Palestine conflict. And this means that, you know, in terms of any conciliation at the end, these soldiers, these commanders will not give up as they gave up Gaza easily. They will resist because for them this is their house, this is their home. Our youth of today, they need a chance and they need this support in order to not be falling in this mustanqa.
Spirale. Pour ne pas tomber.
Of violence.
Pour ne pas tomber dans. Voilà, elle a besoin de soutien pour ne pas tomber dans la spirale de la violence.
And this, radicalization that are taking place in our geographical area, that is buzzing with a lot of changing, very quick journeys, changing in the region. Of course, previously, all what I have talked about previously is something that has reduced the push of the uprising that the youth has started. But this did not stop our movement from going, and until today there is over 40 Palestinian villages and youth organizing, even though the media is not talking about it, that are still going in daily manner and in weekly manner in protests and fights. The last year has proven that there is a generation in Palestine that is very determined and that is not giving up to any of the Israeli attempts to surrender us and make us give up. When I'm talking here, it's not to make you sad about what is going on, even though it's very sad, but to show you that the determination inside this generation, that is, in spite of all what we are facing, that they are pushing very hard, and in spite of all the cut of hope for going because of in political manner and in all manners, they are still pushing to find a way for their liberation, in order to end this occupation. And this is what we are hoping from the freedom people in the world and the solidarity movement around the world. And thank you.
Et merci.